Hey, Steve.
Hi, Ashley.
How
Good
are you?
to get to connect with you.
Yes, likewise.
Don't forget your background.
I was going to say, how do I?
Go up under Zoom US on your menu, go to Preferences.
And there's also a place, this is Talia from DFWIMA, by the way, where you see that start video button down the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you see that little arrow button, you can also just click that and then you'll see where it says choose virtual background.
All right, just a second. Okay, and which one are we wanting?
There should be two that
It
are.
looks like, if there's a way to flip yours, Steve, it looks like it is opposite for us right now. So we're seeing it
Oh,
back.
really? Okay, then let me see.
Yeah,
If I can
it
flip
always does this.
Looks right
But
to
I
me.
think there's an option to like mirror it or something like that.
There is.
Okay, perfect.
So did that work?
Not yet.
That's mirror off. This is mirror on.
Nothing switched for some
Weird. It switches for me. Okay, let me go pull the other background.
Yeah, or I was gonna say maybe try just turning your camera off for a sec and see if when you turn it back on, it'll finally switch. I don't think it's like a huge deal, but
Well, we want them all to match.
yeah.
Should that background option be available in the filters or in the background options? Or was it delivered somewhere else?
It was an email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was at the bottom of an email chain for me. Steve, you don't want to go with the phone head look? I like it.
The phone head.
Yeah. When he turns his on, he just looks like a phone wearing a button down.
I don't know what that is.
Look at that professional phone.
Oh, man, that's tough.
I'm not sure why it does that.
That's weird.
Are you background?
Hey Chris, I'm good to make you a co-host really quick just in case anything drops out on my end.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, you guys, anybody want to coach me on flipping my background? The mirror button's not working.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, I was trying to show them or explain, and I know Steve was hitting it, but it wasn't switching for him.
I tried both background versions and I did the mirror button.
So is mine backwards to you all?
Yeah, everybody is.
Yeah, everyone is right now.
Did you try both of them? I'm gonna try the other image that was also set.
I tried the other one too.
Oh, they're the same.
Right.
So I have a question. How do you change your background if you're not using the Zoom app? Because they block it here. So I have to just join from the browser. Is there a way to do it from there? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, huh? I'm trying to figure that one out. Because when I go to settings, it says choose background. It doesn't give me it gives me like 4 presettings that they have. Darn it. I didn't think about this till now.
I'm doing a quick Google search for you right now.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you.
Because I'm pretty sure you can. There has to be a way.
There's got to be a way. I've never had to do it.
Yeah.
I can change it to one of these lovely backgrounds like, hey, there's San Francisco and my head's in there, but it's the craziest thing in the world. I don't think we want that.
Oh, I see. Okay, let me send you this link. It looks like in the actual settings of Zoom, you might need to change one thing that it'll allow you. So let me know if that's helpful at all.
All right.
So is mine now, can you, looking at mine again, is mine in the right to you all or backwards?
No, it's reversed and it's the same as all of ours. Mine, Ashley,
Yeah.
is yours.
So they're not mirrored then, because this is backwards too?
Yes. And it does not change when I hit the mirror button.
Huh. That's odd.
Daniel, you're muted.
Well, so mine looks to be straight, but
not to us.
I've got an entirely different problem.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
use
sure.
it. It's not gonna work, guys. Like, don't worry about it. Like, it's
Chris,
But
I
how
just
will they
sent a
know that
link.
we're
If you
better together?
upload the image in that link I just sent, Chris, it should automatically switch it and then everyone should be good. If you want to try that real quick, but up to you guys.
Sorry, do what with that?
The link I just sent, if you just upload the creative, it'll automatically just flip it for you. So hopefully that'll work and then everyone will have the correct version.
Oh, all right. I'm trying to do something else right now. Hold on. Can we all, before we do that, can we all rename ourselves? So I'm just gonna put mine. So Chris Martin, DFWIMA. Just do dash, whatever you want to put for your agency or company. We just sent 2 links. I'm not sure which one, the background link thing. It's honestly, I think Talia, it's the background that was given to us. It's not flipped. Like it was flipped, but it's the same one. And so she doesn't have, I'll just try to find it on Canva.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna, oh, okay. But yeah, if you have like a PDF of that, you should be able to just upload it, it'll flip it, and then that one should work.
All right, let me give this, log out this thing for a second. I'll be right back.
Mhm.
See it in Canva. Okay, it's not in Canva either. Sorry, everyone. These are some of the technical difficulties that, you know,
Yep.
That's why we're here.
lovely nonprofits always have to go through on these certain times. We've restructured the board a little bit too, so there's been some just kind of not knowing everyone's responsibilities still. We're still working through that, but it's still been better. Just heads up. Interesting.
So Daniel, if this becomes stale at any point, I rely on you to crack a joke.
Yeah.
Done and done.
Okay, good. So you're saying mine still is flipped background. Like I can't, I see yours,
Correct.
Steve, yours is, okay, shit.
Shit is right.
This is great, you know, right? We find these things out the day of when we don't test these things. It's just my, another concern, but,
Well, and the problem is you can't really test it until we're live.
Yeah, if anything else, we can go through the sponsors and we can all have a good chuckle about the fact that they're backwards and people will notice them for longer because it's different.
Yay.
Baby Yoda made a brief appearance.
yeah.
He's back.
Sorry, I'm in LA, work from a hotel Wi-Fi, so my room had have that issue. So hopefully this doesn't happen again. But yeah.
Oh, Daniel, what'd you just do? Yours flipped.
Went to a random website that flips images for you on the fly and it just dragged out onto my desktop and did it that way. I can just share it with the group.
Do you mind sharing in that email that we sent earlier and just throwing it in that else, Jane?
Sure. Do you want me to just put it in this chat also? I mean,
Oh, if you can do that. If
Let's see
you
if
have the
we-
file, yeah, I don't know if the file comes through in the chat.
let's find out. Let's find out, everyone.
Yeah, let's do it if you can. Hell yeah.
The copywriter is fixing things. This is not right. Nope. I'll send it in the email chain.
Okay, cool. Thanks. That'll help. Yeah. Talia, you have the link to the PowerPoint, correct? To run it for us.
I believe Mark's gonna run it because I'm not gonna be able to stay the whole time, but do you have it, Mark?
No, I don't. Can you run it? Actually, I was able to drop out of my meeting just to do the start and stop stuff.
Okay, yeah, let me find that real quick.
I put it in the chat to you, direct message in the Zoom.
Okay, gotcha. I don't have Slack on my laptop, so I gotta email it to myself.
No. Yeah, no, it's in the Zoom chat. It's not the Slack.
And it looks like the glue up system, which is our new operating platform, flipped us to live already. So just to let you guys know, we do have one attendee. Richard is in here right now, but should be good beyond that.
Chris, I don't see anything in the Zoom chat right now.
Maybe it didn't come through.
Yes.
And Daniel, did you attach something?
Aha.
I
thank you.
did.
All right, Talia, I'll just run it. Don't worry about it.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Thank you.
Did it not appear, Steve?
Well, it looks like there may be some sort of a link at the bottom, but it's not. No, I don't have anything.
That's odd. Let me try again.
I got it. I'm gonna save this. Okay, cool. Thank you for sending that.
Oh, he did get it.
I got it. I saw it on that email you just sent. Yeah. Oh, shit. Let's see if I can do it real quick.
Chris, can you flip us all?
No, I just saved the image that he sent. Daniel sent it to the email, or just sent us all an email, and I just took that and I'm downloaded it. I can share. How does mine look right now?
It's weird. I have Daniel's email, but I don't seem to have an attachment.
Give it a second. It might just take a second to load up since you're using your browser. I mean, using Zoom and everything. It might just take a second to like upload. I just saw the screenshot that he, the ping he put in there. PNG.
Yeah. And it's dragged on your desktop.
Yeah. Is mine looking correct now?
Yeah, yours looks correct. You should be able to just do the flip video deal in your settings versus needing to flip the background.
No, Mark.
That's not doing it.
Well, we've been doing that for 12 minutes.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop suggesting things then.
Yeah, what Eric has
Oh,
sent us, they're both the flipped version. So when you flipped, it just wasn't working. Yeah. Well,
Mine flipped the correct way for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, still don't have a link, guys.
Odd.
I have Daniel's email, but I don't swear. Where's the link in this?
There's no, it's just an attachment.
Yeah, I don't have an attachment.
let me try sending it to you again, Steve.
The creative guys, if you have InDesign, you can just pop it in and transform your image and take a screen grab of it.
There we go. Sending it to you. Hopefully this works and comes through now. Let's do this too.
Or you can use this CD image flipping website that I found. I put it in the chat. It's all right. They have all the information anyway.
Yeah. See, I just sent it to you so you can check your email. Hopefully that works. I copied it as an attachment and also just dropped it in there as like a screenshot, but hopefully one of those comes through for you.
Gotcha.
Did you turn our videos off?
Looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Dramatic entrances.
Let's go ahead and get started now.
Okay, cool. Are we live already, Mark?
We've been live. Yeah.
We've been live. Awesome. Everyone's been having this chat all day. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll probably we'll start off now, and we'll see probably some other people trickle in. But thanks for joining us for our DFWIMA's Creative and Media Better Together webinar today, sponsored by Tremor Video and Undertone. Flip to the next slide real quick for me. Just a couple of highlights for upcoming events. So our Toys for Tot holiday toy drive is coming back December 16th. So that will be an in-person event. It will be our second in-person event since the pandemic, but we'll be having it once again at the Network Bar. So it's December 16th. So mark your calendars. It'll be a lot of fun. We've been seeing a lot of good times there. We're going to have the Marines hopefully there again this year as well. Photo booths, all that good stuff. So it's a good part to be a good event to be a part of. So hopefully everyone can join us for that and join us. And then as well, we're going to take a break in December or January. So coming out of the new year, we're going to take a little bit of a lull, but then we'll be back in February. So February 24th will be our next educational event, webinar, most likely again, doing virtual still for those. And then just another highlight, if you haven't already followed us on mostly some of these, our social channels here, and or have been connected and got onto our new membership platform, Glue Up. You've all probably, most of you been using that to sign up for these events. And so hopefully less friction and making it a little bit easier to sign up and see what's coming up. And then up next is, yes, mentorship program. So this is actually going to be the first of its kind for DFWIMA. We've never done this before, so we are going to be doing a kind of a slow roll to this. Apologies for my internet connection if I'm breaking up. But open enrollment is now. So if you'd like, we're going to start with the pilot program of like 10 mentors and 10 mentees. So if you're interested, please email education@dfwima.org. And then, ooh, Eric, can someone mute Eric or Ed's? Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, it's my chainsaw. It's fine.
So then onboarding. Yeah, right, Daniel, thanks. And then onboarding. So once we get these emails in December and January, we'll start connecting you with the mentors, and we'll launch it in full in Q1 January timeline. This is kind of what we're setting for. So please email education@dfwima.org today to get involved. And then next slide, don't mind. And then up again, so thanks to our sponsors, not only Tremor Video and Undertone, thank you again, but also Acrobat and Alethea Marketing for their sponsorship for today's webinar to bring you this awesome educational event. And if you'd like sponsorship opportunities for future events, email community@dfwima.org today. We do have a couple little quick highlights for Tremor Video as one of our platinum sponsors. So with years of experience partnering with local brands and agencies, truly continues to spark the creative spirit among the Dallas-Fort Worth media community as an in-house full-service digital creative studio that sits between Tremor Video's DSP and Unruly's SSP. The team is of seasoned creative experts, touches all verticals, brands, and media strategy, and all of this gives truly a unique vantage point to spot creative trends and needs, which are reflected in their industry-leading services and products. From video creation to video optimization, truly offers data-driven solutions that help brands connect with consumers on all digital screens. And then as well, from our Undertone partner, thank you again. Undertone creates memorable consumer experiences by thoughtfully orchestrating solutions across video, advanced TV, rich media, and social. We bring the art of science and art and science of advertising together to intelligently craft campaigns that uplift consumers, brands, and publishers alike. So thank you again to our sponsorships, to our sponsors and being a part of this and helping us put these events on. Next, I'm going to just really quickly intro a few of the sponsored or speakers today. So first, we have Steve Smith from Firehouse. Steve Smith is the CEO and co-founder of the independent agency Firehouse. A veteran of the firm, he served as Firehouse's chief strategist before taking over the reins. In his early days at the agency, Steve helped lead a deliberate shift in focus for Firehouse, from a promotions-centric shop to a brand agency doing strategy, creative media work, and media work for national and regional clients. Having built the agency's media and strategy team, he has experienced firsthand the challenges of marrying creative and media. While some of his favorite Firehouse work does it well, he's the first to admit it's important to catch lightning every time. Prior to Firehouse, Steve's agency background included stints at Publicis, Termelin Macklin, and McCann Erickson Southwest, to name a few. His brand experience spans categories including CPG, automotive, retail, and insurance. And then I'll really quickly announce the other speakers. I'll find that here. So first, Daniel, I'm sorry, you might have to give yourself an intro because we didn't have your bio. But I will speak for Steve.
Yeah, you do the other ones first.
Yeah, I'll get through these first real quick. So first for Ed, real quick. Ed is currently a group creative director at the marketing arm in Dallas, Texas, overseeing a multidisciplinary creative team across all aspects of the Goodyear account. Previous to that, he enjoyed freelancing for multiple agencies in Dallas and New York, as well as working at the Richards Group, DDB, and Basel. Hold on, sorry, I got that. Okay, here we go. Ashley Watson, Chief Marketing Officer at Commerce House. It's not often someone begins their advertising career in business development, but Ashley's anything but typical. Just 3 months into her first job, she negotiated her first client agency partnership. Awesome. At Coho, I think that's how you say it, or COHO. She heads business development and manages the digital and social media teams. Her background in strategy and planning provides a unique perspective as she approaches new opportunities. Ashley came to Coho via LA, where she led strategy of some of the world's most dynamic brands, Audi, Nissan, Infinity, Fatburger, Bosch Home Appliances, BCA Animal Hospital, Sky Vodka, and World Gym. Wow, that's a lot. That's awesome. And to name a few. Ashley's personal and professional life come together while navigating grocery aisles and menus with celiac disease. It isn't easy today, but doing it before few outside the medical community had ever heard of it is even more challenging. But that's Ash. Her life depends on her diligence, something she brings to bear on all aspects of it. Even work, she explores intrepidly in search of what is exactly right for all of us. Ashley never stops moving, whether chasing her young children or her youngish husband, competing in semi-pro ballroom dancing or heli skiing in her favorite place, Jackson Hole. She played Division I soccer at SMU, helping her team win 4 straight conference titles. Awesome. And also completed degrees in advertising and psychology. And then we have Steve Governall. Steve is the Vice President of Media at Camelot Strategy, Marketing and Media. Steve Governall is a veteran of the digital media and marketing industry. He brings diverse perspective, having worked inside agencies, brands, and at some of the largest media platforms in the world. At Camelot, Governall leads several client relationships, defining cross-channel strategy, strategic priorities, and go-to-market approach. Steve also participates in new business development on behalf of the agency. Prior to joining Camelot, Governall led Snapchat's business relationships with top brands across Texas and the South Central U.S. region, including Frito-Lay, AT&T, Exxon, American Airlines, 7-Eleven, and many others. Steve has also spent 5 years at Facebook, where he led sales efforts focused on quick-serve restaurant vertical. Governall worked closely with the global brands, including McDonald's, Starbucks, and Yum brands, to help drive business growth and positive ROI through advertising on the Facebook platform. Prior to Facebook, Governall led digital media strategy at AT&T. In that role, he was responsible for developing and executing digital strategies for the consumer mobility, home services, SMB lines of business. He began his career at Starcom in Chicago, where he was among the first dedicated digital strategists, and went on to found SMG's first search marketing business unit, SMG Search. Steve lives in Dallas, with his wife Allison and his daughter Greer and Elise. Sorry, thank you for that. And then I will turn it over to, Daniel, actually, I found yours that got plugged in. So Daniel is the creative director here at Dr. Pepper. Daniel is the creative director at Dr. Pepper, working on their portfolio of brands. Prior to joining KDP, he was the creative director for a local agency, Firehouse. Daniel spent the bulk of his career on the agency side in copywriting for the Richards Group, the marketing arm, Concussion, and GCG marketing. So thank you all for being here with us today, and I will turn it over to Steve to kind of start running us through the conversation. So thanks again.
All right. Well, good afternoon. It is afternoon now. I think Ashley wins the bio game. I don't know that you can beat heli skiing, so she takes the point on that one. I had a chance to connect with the panelists before we got together today, and I'll tell you, I'm really excited about moderating this group. Certainly, this is a topic I think that this group, the idea of bringing creative and media together, it's something that we're all passionate about. So I expect we're going to have some really good, rich conversation. When I think about it, I think we've all had that experience of picking up the trades or seeing work in market and saying, damn, I wish we would have done that. Just because it's a really smart marriage of kind of the way media and message work together. And you just know it's going to be effective in the marketplace. I think we all agree, right? Doing that kind of work is what we're going for, but we all see obstacles to that. So let's hash it out today and see what insight we can add for the group. I figure a good place to start is on the bright side. Why don't we start by talking about times when it's really worked well, when you've seen media and creative work together seamlessly for a great effect, and see if we can unearth any insights as to what those situations had in common. Why don't we start with the creative guys? Ed, you want to jump in first?
Sure, Steve, thank you. I think for me, it works best when it happens at the outset, right? When media and creative get together and strategy in the room at the same time to kick off the project. So you start with that common denominator of it's important for the agency and it's important for the clients to really get the ball rolling. So you have the right time to do that. You have the right mindset to do that. But for me, I think when media, and I kind of I've always looked at it that way and treated that way as a creative partner, not even an asset, a partner. And when you get that chance, like any project, when you start off from the ground in lockstep with your partner or partners, it tends to have a better outcome. So that's when I've seen it work best. And it's worked at agencies that value it. And so that's the real trick right there, is seeing that value in having media in lockstep, again, as a creative partner with the creative teams and even with the strategists and the planners. That's, if you can get that from the beginning, you tend to have a lot more success down there. You tend to do stuff that's more impactful, I think.
Yeah, Ed, you use an interesting word, mindset. I think, we can talk a lot today about process and kind of the mechanics of what make it work, but a lot of it does come down to that, right? The idea of mindset and going into it and approaching work this way.
I totally agree.
Daniel, what about you from a creative perspective?
I mean, Steve, yeah, Ed's absolutely right. I mean, the game that we are trying to avoid is, hey, fill this creative hole with what we've got. Like I mean, there are realities of when that's just going to happen and the turn times are going to dictate it. But if you can get ahead of that, that's great. If you're strategic and thoughtful and thinking about where the message is going, and you can really have that inform from both sides, right? Like both of us need to be students of each other. That way we can get at the best possible work. But I mean, again, the realities are that it's going to happen from time to time. And then in those situations, you can still do some good work. You don't resign yourself to being stuck with just these 9 stock photos or whatever the case may be. Or you find your way to work around it. But yeah, Ed's totally right. You want to be in the room together from the get-go.
Yep. Well, thank you. Ashley?
Sure. I don't know that I can add a ton more other than to say that, for what these guys said, coming back at things from a strategic lens, I mean, so much of media is strategic. So much of what you do creatively is strategic. So having everybody in the same room coming at it from a different strategic lens is always helpful. And I think you add more to what can be brought to those media or creative ideas by having them there together. Simple as that.
So Ashley, in your organization, I mean, do you sort of serve as that bridge between kind of the media and creative, making sure that there's strategic kind of symbiosis, or does somebody else play that role for you guys?
Yeah, I think anybody can play that role. Once you get into the mix, I think I have played that role, certainly with kind of doing the different roles within the agency over time. But honestly, the analytics kind of sit as that centerpiece, right? So you've got the actual results. They don't lie. The media team often delivers them, but they impact everybody. So whenever the creative understands what drove this type of performance and the media team understands what drove this type of performance, as well as the account and the project management folks, I mean, there may be even things you can do internally to make things move faster and things perform better. So I think the analytics end up being the centerpiece once you've done it time after time and you've got some of those to look back on.
Yeah, I want to come back to that thought in a bit, the analytics idea, because I think there's a conversation to be had around that as well. So let's come back to that one. Hey, Steve, before we get off this topic, instances where you've seen it work really well, what's the magic ingredient there?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think sort of building off what Ashley was talking about from an analytics perspective, I mean, I do think really where we've seen this work best is when it's anchored on a real consumer insight, right? And I'll give you an example. So, and I'm sure there's lots of stories amongst our group here around COVID, but real specific. So we work with a QSR out of Athens, Georgia, named Zaxby's. And we were at the beginning of COVID, we were slated to run some television in the NCAA tournament, right? So I don't know if you guys remember, but for me, that was when this whole COVID thing became real. When the NCAA tournament got canceled, you're like, okay, I guess this is happening, right? And so literally the Zaxby's business, like so many, went south very, very quickly. Large double-digit declines on the business, and so, over the course of, like, I would call it 2 weeks, we were really locked down with the client, with the creative agency, and really trying to figure out, all right, how do we pull ourselves out of this? And we also had all this money that we were about to put into the NCAA tournament. It's like, all right, what are we going to do with that? And so the core insight was, 2 or 3 weeks in, everybody was tired of cooking. And you'd kind of done the whole thing where that was fun, and that was over. And there was also this, what we believed, and we didn't have a lot of great syndicated data on it, but what we believed was sort of skyrocketing use on CTV. And so we sort of were able to repurpose a lot of those dollars into CTV. But I think the real value was the proposition, which was kind of a collaboration amongst ourselves, the clients, some of the licensees, and the creative agency, which was essentially around a family pack, right? Which sounds simple, but it's like, okay, great, I could drive through, it's still safe, or reasonably safe as far as we know, because nobody knew anything at that time. And I can feed a family of 4 for like $25, right? And so that was one where, I mean, it was just, and you, once all that stuff was pushed live, I mean, you saw the business turn almost immediately. I would say within 3 weeks, we were back in positive territory versus pre-COVID. And so it was just, to me, it's like probably one of the best examples I've seen of all those things coming together at once, and the business really responding to it.
No, that's a great story. I certainly rooted in, I think, an important insight. You knew who your audience was and what they needed from you right then, and figured out how to get that message to them. So great story. No, you said an interesting word. You said, right, the team was sort of locked down during that period and kind of figuring out what to do. Just picking up on the thread we've all heard, right? The idea of timing, we all be in this together. Do you think that sort of in the trenches together mentality helped you guys get to the right solution there? Yeah,
I mean, I think without question, and I think when I look across, so I work across like three brands primarily within Camelot. And I think to me, the ones where we tend to get to the best outcomes and outputs is where lack of ego, like high trust, right? And willing to lead, and also willing to be led, right? There are a lot of times where, creative agencies will have wonderful ideas that may not map to exactly what we've got sort of booked or we're expecting to book for the year. But when a great idea comes, you got to be willing to jump on, right? And regardless of where it comes from. But I think trust, lack of ego, collaboration are sort of central to this whole process.
Yeah, I think those are all good points. I mean, to the discussion with Ed before, I mean, I do think sometimes it's mindset as much as process, and coming into it with the lens that you guys did is a big part of getting to the right answer. Absolutely. So here we are, right? We all say we got some best in class examples. We all say it's the goal, making sure that these two things work together the way that they should. Yet I feel like we're all aware that it doesn't happen every time, right? There are obstacles to that. Let's talk about that for a second. What are the obstacles that you guys see, the barriers to making it work every time? I don't have to call on you, can jump in.
I mean, the obstacle I see is usually time. And or splintering of resources a lot. So timing is just, it seems to be everything. Again, we're asked to do everything so much faster now, so much quicker now. And to put that, to really sit in a room with somebody to, I mean, kind of add to what Steve had said, middle of COVID, you were kind of locked down, and all of a sudden time slowed down, and probably was a great reason he had that outcome, but time is far and away. And then a little bit of the splintering of resources sometimes as well, where clients, they're trying to really they look at sometimes at value as what it costs, as opposed to what they're going to get out on the back end, what it's worth, what it costs, scarcity mindset, what it's worth, growth mindset. And I just have found more and more that with a lot of clients seem to be in that scarcity mindset, and they're more concerned, well, I can maximize my media dollars if I do it this way, as opposed to what I can really maximize if I do it the other way. So those are two things that I could constantly bump up against, I feel like.
Yeah, so that splintering of resources is really just a press for efficiency over effectiveness at times.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, what about you? What barriers do you guys see?
Yeah, just to play off of what Ed said, I think time certainly is one of them. But honestly, when the time collapses on you, that job description of people thinking I'm the media person and I need to only do this, and I'm the creative person, I only do this. If we can get people not thinking, 100% that way, there's a lot of bleed between these roles now, and getting, I think, the smaller groups with people that are focused on the task at hand together to move quickly has really helped, versus having these larger traditional teams where like one rep is in from, or multiple people are in from every team, and you've got all these bodies, and it's like, okay, who's going to actually take this and run with it? So for us, time, certainly the bleeding of whose job is it? Is it mine? Is it somebody else's? It's all of ours. Let's go with it. And then just smaller teams to get these tasks done, so there's less people in the decision-making process.
Yeah, it goes back to that whole mindset thing, right? A scrappy team that sort of feels like we're the task team on this, as opposed to big traditional roles.
Yeah, there's ownership.
Yeah, there's a sense of ownership. What about the rest of you guys?
I mean, I've found that a lot of people love to use the word collaboration, but don't really act on it. And so I think that's like, it really goes back to the first thing. It's like, yeah, have the initial meeting, but like, you've really got to nurture and go into that relationship with intent, especially if you've got outside vendors, coming in. If people are all working for a client and you have creative coming in from one side and media from the other side, we can equally be guilty of trying to protect the relationship rather than actually doing what's best for the work and for the client. And so I think, making sure that you can have earnest and honest relationships with people beyond the meetings, right? It's huge. It's huge. And it's not easy to do because people are understandably protective of their clients and they want to be the ones who come in with a big win,
Yep. Well, Daniel, you shifted from a situation where everything was under one roof to where you are now on the client side. So what are the new challenges you've sort of come across there? I would imagine having media and creative under different roofs has been different for you.
It has. That has been challenging. I mean, I think there have been some wonderful things realized. I mean, ultimately, I don't have a client, I have coworkers, at least that's what we keep saying. And that has worked from time to time. But I think what I have noticed now and then is, especially being sort of a startup within a Fortune 500 company, is that there's a little bit of hey, that's my job, hey, you guys are doing my job. And so and that willingness to collaborate is going to take, hey, time, that word that we used earlier, it's going to take time. But I have seen it get better.
Yeah, and it takes attitude. I mean, what Ashley was saying before, right? The whole idea of not thinking about it as my job, your job, our job instead. And that's an evolutionary thing too, as you get comfortable, I think, and get relationships established. So Steve, as a media only shop, I would imagine you've got some challenges that are unique to the rest of us in the way you work with creative agencies.
Yeah, I mean, I think, for certain we do. I think what I feel like when we are at our best, it is when we've had relationships with agencies, sort of that develop over time, right? I mean, you can talk to Daniel's point, you can talk about trust, you can talk about collaboration, but there's probably more than ever, there's overlap between media and creative, and so to some extent we're all playing in each other's sandbox, right? But I think in general, right, establishing trust over time, and especially in extreme times like COVID, right, where you're reacting to a really severe situation, I think, that's really how you tend to build those foundations of trust. And you start to worry less about, okay, why is this person talking about they want to run this ad in a Super Bowl spot, or whatever it may be, right? And you start to just have faith in each other that you're both ultimately looking towards the right outcome, which is growth of your client's business.
Yeah, and Steve, to jump on that, like sometimes it takes something you don't expect. Like we have pulled all promoted Facebook and Instagram work. That's a lot of work for us, and we're shifting all those dollars, and we're trying to find a way to make that work very, very quickly. So that's a collaboration by force, but it's happening.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes the tough circumstances are the ones that cause you to behave differently. I mean, certainly, Daniel, I know you and I's experience oftentimes in new business, right? Where you have a scrappier team, a forced timeline, you do some of your best collaboration.
You do. And I mean, ideally when you're getting, set up with your strategy that, it hopefully is more than something like people aren't connected anymore. Like it's something that's a little bit more incisive. You're able to also be given some really inspiring media that you hadn't considered before, because if I don't know what tools I have and I don't know what the new toys are, then I'm not going to know what to do with them. So like, then that's the nice thing about a pitch though, is that like, I'm not confined. I'm like, let's go. Let's help yourself to the largest piece of sky pie that you like, and let's see what we can come up with. And it is the most, I think, it can be the most enjoyable part of the job when like those are all off and like everyone ideally is there having fun, and like usually the energy and the creativity and just the enjoyment of it is palpable.
Yeah.
So,
to add to that, Daniel, real quick, and I think what you talked about is the pitch atmosphere, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, Steve. It's because in a pitch, the media, the strategy, and the creatives are all lockstep from the get-go, from the day one, right? And Ashley probably can talk about this a lot. So you walk into that room with that goal. Pitch is it's one of those great times when you just feel like you're all in conjunction. And there are days I'm like, why can't we be like that all the time? And I know there's lots of reasons, but that is a lot of the best media ideas I've ever seen come out of that pitch from that very reason right there, because we're all in that room together on the same page from the get-go.
And sure, there are a lot of reasons that you can't behave that way every time, but I'll tell you what, I think we all benefit if we start to behave more like that more often. And I mean, what do I hear? I hear you guys talk about trust. I hear about a fluidity of roles and understanding of each other's deliverables. I would imagine for you guys, Ed, Daniel, creative guys, you've had to get much more attuned to media than you ever have in the past.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if not, you're falling behind. I mean, it's like you have to. I mean, look, and then a lot of what we're making is like, it's less ad. It's like we are making the content, you got to sling that tent, baby. It's like, and that means you got to put things out there that people actually want to see. And to do that, you got to be where they actually are and present it in a way that they're actually going to be receptive to it. And that goes well beyond, I mean, that's the creative idea just as much as it is the medium by which it's delivered. So yeah, man, you got to stay ahead of it. We're not just interrupting things that people love anymore. That's old. That social contract is long dead. And so this idea of coming in and, gosh, actually getting people's attention with something they actually want to see. It's the holy grail. It's the challenge, but it's the one that we have in front of us all the time.
Yeah, and it's not even getting their attention now. It's getting an action out of them, right? That's been a big shift. So and that's why you really kind of have to really keep your eye on media, because what am I doing and what's the outcome that I want to get? And it's not just their attention, it's what's that outcome. And that's even more important in this day and age to our clients, really.
Well, let's talk process just for a sec, because I think in some ways, some of this can be solved by process. And I'll stay with the creative guys just for 1 second and say, Daniel, you said before, right? What I don't want to do is get a brief and have to fill out boxes. How often nowadays, I mean, or even in past history, I mean, what's the balance between I'm filling out a deliverables list, or I feel like I'm truly collaborating with a media team at arriving at an idea?
I mean, I would love to tell you it happens a lot more than it actually does. So, I mean, I think it's real sort of front end. Like it's how a lot of this is based on, again, the assets that you have and trying to make something new again that's been just used a million times. So like, I don't know, like the newer your content is, the more excited you are about that, and the more like you feel like you can control and make things feel unique. The longer you are and you're still sort of using the same assets, that you feel like you're you know, your square peg round holing and I don't know, content wear out, all of those things can really be an issue. So I wish it happened more often than it did, the full on collaboration, but I don't know. So you work within the parameters and you make things work.
Yep.
Yeah, Steve, I've got input there. You know, one of the things we used to traditionally brief, like I think most people are used to, where strategy or strategy and media come together and they come up with the, you know, the main driving insight, and, you know, there's a media plan that's around that, and they brief the creative team. We've kind of flipped things to where we actually brief, and the person that's briefing comes with as much knowledge as they have. But the briefing is actually a Q&A, and the people being briefed ask the questions in the order in which they want to ask them, in the order in which they're thinking about them, until everybody's asked every question they can think about. And then it's the person who is running the brief's responsibility to then fill in any gaps that they might know with the rest of the group. And what that does, that dynamic shifts completely. It makes the questions people have in the order that they have them matter, and the story kind of changes, and you come to the insight together in a different way than somebody just telling you. And so, you know, you've got all the team members that are there representing all the different disciplines, asking the questions that matter to them. And then ultimately everybody's answer matters to each other. And you see this bubbling up of kind of that insight. So I think that's been super helpful too. It doesn't happen all the time, but for like some of the big projects that we have where we can get everybody in a room, it's really, really helpful to just do a Q&A. It's conversation, it's dialogue. There's no egos, there's no roles. Specifically, you're just there to have a conversation and learn about, come to some shared understanding about what it is you're about to do. And that's been really, really impactful for like the dynamic of the team.
That is super interesting. I mean, you're essentially doing what in your briefings, what we talked about as far as kind of tearing down some of those roles, the expected, you know, positions everybody plays, and making it more collaborative. So ultimately, I think what you're doing there goes a long way towards a lot of the things we're talking about today. Ashley, what do you, let me ask you, when you think about your creative teams, I mean, are there instances still where they feel like they're kind of filling out a media plan? You mentioned before, I come to a briefing, we've kind of got the media plan locked. Do you guys try to align it more and more so that you're briefing media and creative simultaneously, or does that not practically work?
You know, I think it really depends is kind of the answer. I mean, there's certainly still those projects that like you feel like you already know what the outcome is going to need to be, and there's less, you know, sky there for you to kind of move forward. And I feel like those projects end up going the more traditional route. But I think there's certainly others that come out of this different type of briefing style, and just where our media teams are so in sync with strategy and creative that even if we brief that way, creative will come back and say, you know, what if we did this? And it's totally a channel related thing. Like the one that's popping to mind for me is we have a QSR client named Hawaiian Bros that's on a roster, and they were looking for recruitment ideas that were out of the norm because there's so much recruiting happening right now, you know, with the great reshuffling. And we had our media plan, you know, we started with that, and we had, you know, the different channels we wanted to address. We were looking for messaging to fill in those slots. And then we kind of flipped it on its head. It's like, what if we did things like this? And I can remember like the one that was super impactful for me was somebody presented an almost adult Easter egg hunt in the middle of, you know, November, right? And it was this idea because most of our employees are from 16 to 20. They're mostly high school age kids. It's going to high schools, throwing Easter eggs that had all kinds of different prizes, but the actually ultimate golden egg was a job interview at Hawaiian Bros. And like it did two things for us. It was just so random that everybody wanted to film it and share it, and they all experienced it together. And it was almost backwards that your you know, golden egg was going to be a job or a job interview. It doesn't seem like the thing people would get excited about, but people just get excited to hunt Easter eggs, right? And anyway, then the media team was able to jump on and be like, yeah, we can geofence this, collect all the device IDs, and we can reserve these people, you know, ads. So in case they didn't get the golden egg, you know, we can follow them up with recruitment ads. There's other things we can do. And it was like this great melding of this cool guerrilla tactic that then had data associated with it that media was able to leverage and then run campaigns with afterwards. And once we have a glut of high schools in a certain area, we've got all this data for these types of people that might be great target for us. So anyhow, I just remember that meeting and how that moved and how great it seemed, the idea to kind of transfer from one thing to the next and build on itself because we had all those people in the same room.
And it sounds like, if I heard your story right, they probably went into that, the media team, with kind of an idea of what the plan was. But then because of where the creative was going, they sort of altered that plan from there.
Correct. And it just kind of plussed it up too. We could still do some of the things that media had brought to the table. They were table stakes, right? We had to be in some of these places, but the data, the rich data we were gathering from doing these events actually made the media stronger and more performance oriented, because we had CRM data, now device ID data, depending on what we did and what data we captured at these events, that just made media stronger. So it was useful from both perspectives.
Yeah, and ultimately resulted in a much smarter plan.
We're kind of, sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to add on to that. I was in a meeting yesterday working on some Q1 stuff for our QSR client. And, so we're obviously already sort of down a path on Q1, right? Just based on timing. But the creative agencies come up with this really interesting, like wonderfully stupid idea, to be honest. And they said that, so I can say it too. But it's something that, allowed us to really take a step back and go, okay, we feel like we had a really sound sort of like the right audience, scale, all those types of things in place already. This gives us an opportunity to sort of step back and go, all right, how do we really make this thing sing based on the new concept? So, those things always get a little hairy when they're real close to a launch date, right? You don't want to be rewriting plans several weeks out, but in this case, we're in good shape, and I think we're going to end up in a great spot.
And I imagine the way you guys are structured, that that's not an unusual occurrence, that you have to, once you see a creative idea, that you're altering the plan to make those two things sing together.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Ideally, again, we're getting sort of far enough ahead of that we're not, we're not sort of rebuilding or rebooking anything, right? But yeah, I mean, I think in the best case scenario, we're taking creative input and saying, all right, how do we put that in the best possible light amongst, this guest, while ensuring, reach and scale and measurability and all the sort of fundamentals of media. But yeah, in an optimal scenario, we're bringing all that stuff in as we're planning and buying.
Yep. So has anybody on the call, has your organization made any sort of a process change or a change to kind of your standard way of doing things to try and align those things better?
Yeah, I mean, the briefing process that I mentioned has been kind of a game changer. You're not one person's not telling a group, the group is asking questions. And again, that dynamic is so different. If you haven't experienced it, it's hard to explain on a call, but it is just a very different way to approach a project. And I think it's given everybody kind of a new lens from which they can come at the problem and collaborate with one another.
Yep. As I said before, I think it's really smart. Anybody else? Anything else you've done differently?
Well, so we've just relaunched a partnership with ESPN, and what's nice about this is we used to go to ESPN with ideas, and they would kind of figure where they would plug them in to work. And now we're actually working directly with Havas to come up with, hey, let's really think about how we get the message in front of the people we want to get them in front of them in a way that's authentic to our brand and stuff like that, without having to go through ESPN. So we just started laying the plans for this about 30 days ago. So that's been an interesting change, and it's been a very exciting one on our end to be on the call with the media agent. We haven't even talked about creative yet, and we're just like, who are these people? Where are we reaching them? What's the action we want to get from them and stuff like that? So that it's not an organizational change so much as it's just the one piece of business I work on. But it's been unbelievably exciting to, again, it gets you back in the room from the very beginning. And so it kind of rekindled the love of those kind of conversations and asking a lot of questions, like Ashley says all the time, and worrying far less about checking boxes. Because I always tell I tell clients all the time, like, listen, if you're judging work and you say it checks the box, that's the worst thing in the world. If you're coming up with a media plan and it checks the box, like, well, have you really stretched and thought it should be doing more than that? So really excited about this partnership and getting a chance to really work with Havas from the beginning now. So hopefully it'll achieve the results. And that came from our client going, why is it always done this way? And or so literally our client saying, just because we've done it that way, that's not necessarily how I want to do it going forward. And but they were brave enough to ask the question and really to push the conversation.
So, I mean, the interesting thing about that is you're now way upstream. You're not even talking creative yet, but you're engaged in creative conversations with the media team about how to put the plan together, which is a huge improvement in terms of getting the right involvement. You know, and I can't believe how quickly this conversation's going. I feel like there's a million aspects to it. We could talk forever. But before we run out of time, I want to come back to the analytics thing. You know, I mean, for work to truly be effective, it can't just be beautiful. It can't just be insightful. It's got to prompt the action that's intended. Ashley, I know you as a strategist, certainly that's one of the things on your radar, right? Is the work driving to the intended action. So how do you help navigate that balance between kind of the beautiful messaging your creative team wants to create and creative that you know is going to drive those results?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is analytics, but I think before I get into that, understanding the analytics, before I get into that, I think something we can all relate to talk about the message and the behavior and how the two have to come together to work nicely. We've all taken tests in grade school or in college, right? And you always kind of, there's two elements of taking a test, right? You've got to be able to know the content you're being tested on, but you've also got to understand the format of the test, right? Is this going to be a written test? Is it multiple choice? Is this thing timed? So, you know, those people that know the contents, but perhaps need a little bit more time to answer questions are still going to fall short if they can't meet the time barrier, right? There's that behavioral element. You've got to also be speedy. And those people that maybe know the content really well, but they can't articulate it in writing and it's an essay test are also going to struggle. So the same type of thing happens in creative and media whenever the two come together. Like you have to have a message that works with the behavior you're trying to drive. Otherwise, you're still not going to get an A on that test. The analytics are still not going to be there. And so I think what's really important in one of the different things we've done, it seems very obvious now, is by just letting the creative team in on the analytics. You know, I can say over my career, I've probably put together 500 landers from media and driving media and assets to a lander, getting people to fill out a form. So I have a pretty good sense for what type of form is going to work, where it needs to be placed, what the heat map looks like, et cetera, et cetera. But our creative teams, they don't know that information off the top. So they may be putting things below the fold. They're doing things strangely, adding 50 fields to something where, you know, optimally, you know, we only need 4, right? So just understanding some of those things when you brief a creative team so that the creative has that insight about what performs, and media also has the sensibility to get with creative and talk about what they've seen, because the media folks are great with the analytics. They have a really good understanding of what works. You have to be able to pick their brain and draw it out. What have you seen? But when the two get together, it's really fantastic to kind of see the message and the behavior kind of move forward.
So I'm imagining that in your briefings, you're probably bringing in data that talks about past campaigns like this, how they perform, that sort of thing. And do you find that the creative teams are receptive these days, able to take that in and apply it?
Yeah, so the full transparency, at the beginning, it was like a hard no. It was like, no way. You know, the stuff is like, why do I need to have this on the upper right-hand corner? You know, why must this be right here on the mobile device? Well, it's because your thumb can't reach up here. You know, all those types of little things. Like there was a hard fought battle. And whenever we asked them to A/B test, which was usually a compromise, okay, you do it your way, let's also do it this way. And let's see what happens. You know, 90% of the time you start to see those tried and true UX principles come out. And they're there for a reason, right? You don't walk into a room and have to search for the light switch anywhere on the wall or on the ground, right? It's always easily right there next to you. So some of those same principles apply to behavior online and in marketing, but whenever the creatives want to be creative, they like to move those things and do different things because that feels creative whenever really it's just poor design. So it's been a long kind of long sort of stretch of movement for us, but we're there where our creative does understand the user experience element. They understand why the behavior matters. And then once you get that, you have the freedom to design around and with that tool. And I think that's been kind of the big transition we made over the last maybe 2-3 years.
Ed, it was fun watching you listen to Ashley and laugh. Talk to me about that. I mean, I imagine you've traveled this path as well in terms of a new world where analytics is part of your landscape.
Yes, I'm not laughing at you, Ashley, just laughing because I've been involved in that. For sure. So I have so many creatives, and they'll things like this. Well, hey, the reason I'm a creative is because I was told there would be no math, or like I thought it was our job to find new ways to solve problems and stuff like that. And then I think what you're kind of doing is what I love is like, no, I'm not telling you to find a new way to solve a problem. I'm just telling you that when you solve it, if you take these 2 or 3 steps in your solve, you're going to be far more successful. But man, I got to tell you, creatives do not like to hear that event in the beginning. But I tell you what really works is when you can come back, like we've talked about, asking, so, but here are the results. So and then they can see their work becomes far more effective. Then there tends to be that lean in moment. But until you get to that point, there's still, just the resistance, because I was the same way when I was younger in my career, and I still see it sometimes. And I have to come back and say, like, just trust that if you follow the analytics and you do check these things and you make sure these things are right here because they're there for human reasons, a lot of times human behavior, and you build around that, you're going to be far more successful. But I feel like I have that conversation still probably once a month. So I was just laughing. It's like, I think I've just had this conversation.
No, I still have it too. And, the same goes for clients as well. I can recall, and this is a quick, story, but I can recall with a client this past year where they're an event-based company. They need to collect a lot of information, but they don't have to do it right when you register. And we had this awesome campaign. It was running the metrics on the advertising campaign were awesome. We drive to the lander, and the lander just had massive fall off because it was a 10-page form fill, 50 fields, and the client just had to have all of those. And we were like, advertising can only do so much, you can't have 50 form fills here. That's what email's for afterwards. Just you'll collect their name, email address, phone number, off we go, get them registered, and then follow back up and get the type of butter that they want in their toast for the first mornings. It's like those kinds of things are still in that form fill. And it took a lot of educating and coaching, and eventually it was an A/B, and it was a very, very clear result, and everybody can move forward, which is also the beauty of analytics. You can test it.
Well, as I mentioned, we blew through our time, and I think we could continue talking for a good another hour. But while we still just got a minute, why don't we just go quick around the horn here and say, okay, what's one thing I took away from this, or one thing that you kind of look to do differently going forward in terms of improving our ability to make these things work together? Steve, you want to jump in? Any takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, one, we also talked a lot about collaboration and trust, and I think that's important. But I also loved Ashley's process. I thought there was some really good stuff to draw from in there. So Ashley, I'm going to steal it from you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Take it. It's yours.
What about you, Ashley?
Honestly, my takeaway from this was that, everybody is struggling with similar things, and it's so helpful for us to come together. I love, Ed, your head nod and your giggle, that you're also having, those same types of conversations. It's just nice to hear back, because sometimes we get into our silos here in the agency land with our own clients and forget to look up and know that everybody's kind of struggling with this, and the communication back and forth between the agencies, I think, is just great. It's very helpful.
Yep. Ed?
No, and I think Ashley's point of like, just remind yourself, we all fight this battle all the time, but we all feel like it's a worthy battle to fight. It's a great reminder. And then just her reminder of, and I see just the behavior. Like, also, don't just think about the credit, but think about the behavior, and the outcome you're trying to get, the action you're trying to get. It's just always a great reminder. I'm probably going to stick that back on the very top of briefs going forward again. Is like, think about that. And I do love the Q&A part of a brief, because I think a really great brief is the beginning of the conversation. It's not where the conversation's supposed to end, it's where it's supposed to start. So I love that as well. Really highlights that I'm going to kind of pack away and start using some more.
Ed, you said something interesting, which is we all believe this is the right way to go. And I think, it will get better over time. We'll continue to iron out the kinks and make sure this is the norm versus the exception. Daniel, are you still with me? Yeah, I think I lost.
I think Daniel had to run for a work emergency.
Okay. Erica, I think you guys may want to, there may be some questions. Do you guys want to handle that?
Yeah, so we have a question from Russ Evans. So when a property reaches out to an agency, is it best to lead with a unique marketing idea for one of the agency's clients?
Interesting. Steve, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think, look, ideas are always welcome. I think, I feel like the right place to start, and I've sort of been on both sides of the table. I feel like the right place to start is essentially trying to understand the business, right? And so I have I have an appreciation for partners that sort of really want to understand that. And, you know, I'm more than happy to spend time sort of talking through, hey, these are our objectives, these are our challenges, right? Versus trying to address stuff that may be kind of uninformed or well-intended, but uninformed. But you know, ideas are always welcome. But I just think it really, you'll do yourself a lot of favors if you really understand the business you're trying to partner with.
So ideas are welcome, but probably better to spend a little time getting grounded in things and purpose that idea a little more pointedly before you go there.
Amen. Yes.
I think that's all the questions. If anybody wants to raise a hand or throw it in the chat, feel free. But if not,
I will thank you guys all for being part of the panel today. Thanks for all the good discussion. Appreciate it.
yeah,
It was a
and
pleasure.
Steve, if you want to kick it back over to me,
Yep.
I'm going to close us out.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. I'm Erica Mendoza with DFWIMA, and like I said, I'm going to help close us out. But before everyone jumps, we have 4 lucky raffle winners to announce. But first, huge thank you to our panelists, Steve, Ashley, Ed, and Daniel, and our moderator, Steve, for such a refreshing conversation about how the different ecosystems within our industry can come together for the greater good and give our audiences a really elevated experience. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Tremor, Alethea, Acrobat, and Undertone for making this possible. And of course, your generous donations in the form of raffle prizes. So without further ado, we have a $250 Amazon gift card from Undertone, and the lucky winner is Zach Pritchett. So congratulations, Zach. Make sure you don't spend it, or make sure you do spend it all in one place, actually. Next, we have another Amazon gift card and $100 from Tremor. And this one goes to Sarah Lerner. So congratulations, Sarah. It's your lucky day. And then we'll be in contact with everybody after this also. And then we have 2 additional $50 Amex gift cards provided by Alethea and Acrobat for Crystal Lewis and Alice Ovadia. So congratulations, ladies. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. And of course, you guys are members. And we hope everybody has a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving. And we hope to see you all in December for our holiday party. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, guys.